Can you guess 100 UFC fighters in just 3 seconds each? Let's find out how many you can get. Can you name this UFC fighter? And the answer is Islam Makhachev. Do you know who this fighter is? The correct answer is Alexander Volkanovski. Can you recognize this UFC superstar? That was Petr Yan. Who is this fighter? The fighter is Justin. Can you guess the name of this UFC fighter? It's none other than Ilia Topuria. Do you know this UFC legend? The answer, Tom Aspinall. Which fighter are you looking at? Of course, it's John Jones. Can you identify this UFC star? This is Sean Strickland. Who do you think this fighter is? You're looking at Merab Dvalishvili. Can you recognize this MMA fighter? That's right, it's Alex Pereira. What is this fighter's name? The correct fighter is Cyril Gane. Do you know who this UFC champion is? Did you get Joshua Van? Can you name this Octagon warrior? Who is hiding behind this picture? This UFC star is Alexandra Pantoja. Can you figure out this fighter? That fighter was Arman Tsarukyan. Which UFC fighter is this? It was Charles Oliveira. Do you recognize this face? The fighter is Ian Gary. Can you guess this MMA superstar? And that fighter is Jiří Procházka. Who could this fighter be? The reveal is Valentina Shevchenko. Can you name the fighter on your screen? Were you thinking of Max Holloway? Do you know this Octagon legend? The correct name is Michael Morales. Which UFC star is this? The mystery fighter is Sean O'Malley. Can you recognize this familiar face? That's Diego Lopez. Who is this UFC warrior? And that fighter is Dricus du Plessis. Can you identify the fighter in 3 seconds? Give yourself a point if you said Khalil Roundtree. Think fast. Who is this fighter? The UFC fighter was Alexander Volkov. 3 seconds. Can you name this UFC star? Your answer should be Manel Kape. Your time starts now. Who is this? The fighter on screen is Lerone Murphy. Take a quick look. Who is this fighter? The correct guess is Jack Della Maddalena. Can you get this one before time runs out? It's Paddy Pimblett. Who do you see on the screen? The answer we were looking for was Paulo Costa. Can you recognize this famous UFC fighter? Did you recognize Sergey Pavlovich? Which fighter does this face belong to? The fighter behind the image is Gabriel Bonfim. Can you put a name to this face? Who is this well-known Octagon fighter? And that's Josh Hokett. Can you identify this MMA fighter? You should have guessed Benoit Saint-Denis. Which UFC fighter are we looking at? The name is Sean Brady. Can you remember this fighter's name? This one was Brendan Allen. Who is this former UFC champion? The correct UFC fighter is Caio Borralho. Do you know this dangerous UFC contender? That was none other than Navajo Sterling. Can you recognize this legendary fighter? The reveal, Waldo Cortez Acosta. Which UFC star is on the screen? It's time for the answer, Georges St-Pierre. Can you name this MMA fighter in 3 seconds? Were you able to recognize Bilal Muhammad? Who is this familiar UFC face? The answer coming up is Joe Pyfer. Can you work out who this fighter is? That fighter was, of course, Anderson Silva. Do you know this Octagon superstar? Can you guess the fighter before the answer appears? The correct answer here is Demetrius Johnson. Can you identify this UFC legend? You're looking at Jose Aldo. Who do you think is hiding here? The fighter you were looking for is Jamahal Hill. Let's see if you know this fighter. Here's another UFC star. Who is it? The answer is Sergey Spivak. Can you get this fighter right? Exactly, it's Daniel Cormier. Do you know who's on the screen? This fighter is Curtis Blades. Which UFC fighter comes to mind? Did you say Kamaru Usman? You're correct. Who is this MMA legend? Do you remember seeing this fighter before? It's Mauricio Ruffy. Who does this face belong to? Here's the reveal, Chuck Liddell. Can you identify this UFC veteran? The name behind this face is Israel Adesanya. Which fighter is this? The correct guess was Amanda Nunes. Can you guess this one in 3 seconds? That UFC star is Dominic Reyes. Do you know this UFC icon? The answer for this one is Henry Cejudo. Who is this famous MMA fighter? We were looking for Leon Edwards. What fighter comes to mind? That's TJ Dillashaw. Can you name this UFC contender? That's right, it's Tyron Woodley. Who is this Octagon legend? The fighter has been revealed, Carlos Prates. Do you know this fighter's identity? The correct name, Chris Weidman. Can you recognize the fighter on screen? This one belongs to Francis Ngannou. Which MMA star is this? Did you have Dan Hooker in mind? Can you figure out this UFC fighter? And the fighter is Robert Whittaker. Who is this legendary Octagon warrior? The answer has been revealed, Tony Ferguson. Can you name this fighter before the reveal? You're correct if you guessed Renato Moicano. Another UFC fighter. Can you name him? That famous face belongs to BJ Penn. Another one for the experts. Who is this? The UFC star we wanted was Aljamain Sterling. Who is this UFC megastar? Of course, it's Conor McGregor. Let's test your UFC knowledge. Who is this? This fighter goes by the name Rafael Fiziev. Do you know which fighter this is? The correct response is Beneil Dariush. Can you identify this MMA veteran? The answer for this round is Alexander Rakic. Do you know which fighter this is? And we have Brian Ortega. Can you name this famous Octagon warrior? The mystery is over, that's Johnny Walker. Can you guess this one in 3 seconds? That's who we were looking for, Dustin Poirier. Who do you see here? The fighter you needed was Corey Sandhagen. Which UFC legend is this? This one was Colby Covington. Can you guess the fighter on screen? The correct identification is Jorge Masvidal. Do you know this familiar UFC face? The answer on this one is Nate Diaz. Can you identify this MMA fighter? That face belongs to Nick Diaz. Can you name this Octagon star? Were you quick enough to get Eddie Alvarez? Name the UFC fighter. This is Derek Lewis. Which fighter are we looking at now? Your 3 seconds are up. It's Donald Cerrone. Can you figure out who this UFC fighter is? Only the real UFC fans got Michael Chandler. Can you get this one in just 3 seconds? The correct answer here, Joaquin Buckley. Can you name this famous Octagon warrior? Think carefully, and do you know this fighter? That UFC fighter was Manuel Torres. Another one for the experts. Who is this? Who is this UFC superstar? Of course, it's Brock Lesnar. Who is this Octagon legend? The name you needed was Alistair Overeem. Can you figure out this UFC fighter? Final few, can you recognize this fighter? And the correct fighter is Rafael dos Anjos. Did you lock in Anthony Pettis? Do you know which fighter this is? Last one, do you know who this UFC fighter is? The final answer is Kevin Holland.